We are reading from Guru Nitya's commentary on Atmopadesh Satakam, and we have reached verse number 39 now. And this verse is about differentiating analysis and unifying synthesis. Verse 39. To continue of these forces just mentioned, the second division, sameness, is of one quality, while for the first, the difficult, there is no end to its qualities. Thus these are of two kinds. Commentary. In verse 33, it is said that knowledge, in order to know its own potential, changes into the many known things. It enters into various states of clarity and obscuration. Sometimes it forms a pronounced dichotomy of the knower and the known. At certain other times, it becomes the passive witness, where the knower aspect is not emphasized, watching the ongoing procession of known items flashing through consciousness as objects of awareness. Sometimes it leaves the world of the known altogether and sits by itself, ruminating, I am, very much centered in the subject. Much of the time it alternates between the subject and the object, first clear, then vague. These are also moments when it withholds from the sphere of awareness entirely, where nothing is known. And lastly, it is capable of effacing the duality of the subject and object, not negatively, but in a very positive way, by transcending the modalities. When we examine this movement of knowledge, we can see that it always moves within itself. When you look at the flow of life horizontally, it passes sequentially from one thing to another. Each moment, or even less than a moment, the attention is fixed in one particular aspect. The very next moment, the whole scene has changed, and attention is with another interest. Narayana Guru uses the analogy of the spokes of a chariot wheel to describe the mind's movement from interest to interest. Even though the wheel has many spokes, the whole weight of the chariot rests on just the one spoke, which is vertically below the hub. As the chariot moves, the burden goes to the next spoke and the next. The image shows us that even though the shifting interests differ from moment to moment, the cumulative effect is constant. Although we are drawn as though blindfolded by a negative or dark instinctive pull, we need not remain always in the state of negativity. There are two ways to deal with our lot in life. The lower animals, from viruses and bacteria up through most mammals, have a stream of development and a life plan that are fixed by nature's own devices. It is as if they have a set program to go by. To them, life is a continuous passing show, and they don't look back with any sense of regret or remorse. They don't have any assigned duties for tomorrow. They don't sit down and scheme and plan. A bird which needs to build a nest and hatch its eggs does not figure out how it is going to do it tomorrow. In the morning, when it gets up, it instinctively picks up little pieces of cotton and thread, leaves and broken twigs. Then it makes a nest. Just when the nest is finished, the eggs come. It's all so very well adjusted by nature. If someone breaks the eggs or pulls apart the nest, it flutters around for a little while and then forgets it. Although they look mechanical, the bird's actions have an absolutism in them. Similarly, a drop of water in a stream goes on dancing all the way from the mountain top to the ocean. It merrily plunges ahead, unaware of what awaits it, whether there is a smooth bed or a plunging waterfall, whether it will always be pure and clear or contaminated by some city's effluents. It has no thought. It just goes. We human beings have a different approach. Of course, it's true that some of us are not very different from animals or drops of water in a stream. We just go on meeting contingencies as they appear in front of us. But in all of us there is one difference, present in varying degrees. The animal and the drop of water don't have any special obligation to anyone, but man makes promises and gets into obligations. When he drifts from one thing to another, there comes the constriction of previous commitments, like the tug of a string wound about his limbs. Then he turns back. The alternative for him is to always be fully alive and wakeful to the whole situation. Then he does not allow any particular interest to infatuate him so much that he becomes blind to reality. The animal force which makes life mechanical is very strong. Most people cannot resist it. We just get into the mainstream and flow with it. Only here and there do we find the rare person in whom the whole meaning and significance of life has opened up, which brings a clarity like 10,000 suns shining all at once. The Guru has said that our knowledge has innumerable powers, which can all be brought under the two headings of Sama and Anya, the same and the other. Sama is unitive consciousness. Even when you go from one thing to another, you know it is a continuation of the same interest, of the same consciousness, all within one ambit of existence. Anya is when the unitive aspect is blindfolded, so you don't see it. You only see one thing at a time, and you get caught up in it, and it fills your whole mind. For a time you are fully absorbed, not leaving even a little of your awareness on your transparency in time and space and the meaning of life. Then he went further, saying that in our knowledge there is an indistinct aspect which calls for a clarity in every item of knowledge. This is called Vishama, the difficult to discern, such as when you say, this is a pot or this is a friend. We do not really know what this is. We only know that it comes as a calling of attention to an awareness. When we specify pot, my friend, or whatever, our interest is immediately shifted to what we have specified. We don't bother about this because our interest is caught up in the qualifying aspect, Visesham. We are speaking here of two pairs of ideas, Sama and Anya, the unitive and the differentiating, and a subdivision of Anya, the difficult to discern, Vishama, and the specifying quality, Vishesham. Narayana Guru defines Anya as that which is known as variegated, while what shines forth as the one whole is Sama. He then asks us to keep our mind open and vigilant so that we can release ourselves from being blindfolded by the infatuating source of the specifying thing, which comes in the form of other. In the present verse, the Guru is taking us a little deeper into the differentiating aspects. From the day of your birth to today, there is a constant return of consciousness to its core or center. It always goes back and touches the center. Then from the center it goes to the periphery, where it deals with objects. No matter what the function is, the general nature of the experience is an illuminating awareness, a self-awareness. It is self-luminous. There is no other agent to throw light there. Whether you sit with your eyes open or closed, there is a consciousness that illuminates you, which brings awareness to you. It is always there, unbroken. Sometimes it takes the form of a wakeful consciousness. At other times it is like a dream consciousness. and sometimes it is a deep sleep. You are not wakefully aware or having dreams, but as soon as you wake up, you remember it was a good time. I had a good sleep. There is an awareness there which was very passive, and yet it lends itself to be recalled. If you are so favored to become a yogi who can transcend the three modalities and remain in a calm, serene state, where you are totally one with yourself, that transcendental state can also be related with the other three. Then the whole thing can be known as pure knowledge. On some level, you have been experiencing pure knowledge all through until this moment. And what is its quality? It is just awareness, self-awareness. Within that state of awareness, two kinds of thisness are coming to you. One says, this is me, and the other, this is what I know. One, this pertains to the knower, and the other pertains to the known. When you said I, when you were 2, 4, 10, and 20 years old, and what you will mean when you are 50, 60, and 70, you will always recognize as the same I. You go on saying, I am this, and this is me. And you have no doubt that the I who said it yesterday is the same as the I who said it today. The this does not have a varying connotation from moment to moment and time to time. The this of the knower always remains constant, whereas the this of the known can never be the same. It always changes, even if it sometimes seems repetitive. Infinite are the possibilities of the structuring of consciousness. Narayana Guru says, there is a this which is always one, and there is another this which is infinite. Virati means termination. Virativara, that which has no termination. So we get Virativara Vishama, that which is difficult to discern and yet has no termination. This pertains to the whole world of knowledge. Another Vishama pertains to the I itself, as we are flooded with the interminable interests of the passing objects to which our senses and mind are turned. We are like children running to one toy after another. If only we remembered that all of the passing show is an experience of our own consciousness. If we could sit back on the bank of the stream of consciousness, rather than drifting away like the water drops within it, we would have a different attitude towards life. Verse 39 requires us to be a constant witness of our own existence. This helps us not only spiritually, but on every level, in every way. When you are caught in an emotional situation, remember Virativara Vishama, that difficult aspect which is interminable, which is taking you from one mood to another, one emotional state to another, one kind of appreciation to another. It has such a hold on you that you lose your power to restrain, to observe, and to be neutral and impartial in your observations. Instead, you become identified with what happens to you each moment. Knowing this helps you to step back and free yourself from the entanglements of the situation. When an actor is on the stage, appearing for all the world, completely at home and alive in his role, deep down he knows that when the play is over, he will no longer be that character. He doesn't carry the ups and downs of his character home with him. Even a person who dies on the stage gets up and walks away when the curtain is dropped. This brings a kind of lightness and freedom that are otherwise quite difficult for those who are attached to their personas to achieve. In fact, our life is a continuous play with continuous action and continuous staging. We have to get up and walk away from our roles moment by moment, but we forget. We are very deeply affected by events in our lives. We become so involved. But if we can have this little detachment to sit back and see that this is a passing show going on, it will give us all the strength and patience on earth. You are always just who you are. Somebody says you are good, somebody says you are bad. That belongs to the passing moment. Their remarks do not make you more good or bad than you actually are. Detachment enables you to have a better appraisal of the passing moment. This is not only for your final salvation, but also for your salvation here and now. Your consciousness is flashing quickly between the knower and what is known. That which oscillates between them is the same consciousness, and it is you. So sit back firmly in your detachment, and yet also participate in the stream of life as it flows by you with its eternal rhythms. Time has a mood. In springtime, the mood is to dream, to plan, to make endless promises, jubilantly and hopefully. You think it will always be spring. You are outgoing and optimistic. Then when fall comes, the mood changes. Your dreams change colors, going from bright to dark and brown. They break off from the main stem, flutter in the wind, and blow away into oblivion. The sweeper comes, and they are all swept away. Your promises were of spring. In fall, they are no longer valid. The mood changes again when winter comes. You withhold yourself from the periphery and sink into your own depths. You are one with yourself. You are now most important to yourself. It is very cold and still outside, snowing. Then once again, when spring returns, you come out. This is one possibility. It is good for the trees, but not so good for us. The tree has no remorse about dropping its leaves, but we do. If you find a girlfriend or boyfriend in the spring, and you drop them off in the fall, after 6 months, when you see them again, you will get a peculiar feeling about your fickleness. Man alone has this kind of funny feeling, not trees or slugs or birds. And as you have it, you have to be careful. So cultivate this attitude. Once you've solidified a permanent mood and developed your ability to witness, then you can play around a little in your daily life. Always remember, we are aiming the study at our everyday life. It is not some far-off exotic philosophy. And the free translation of verse 39 is, "Moreover of these two powers, sameness is unitive, while the other pertains to that which is never exhausted of its indistinctness and begs for clarification. They are of two separate kinds."